Good morning, everybody. I am just having a really quiet Sunday morning, and we got a little bit of time where the sun is coming through our window a bit. And I thought I would just share some progress on my stocking, and then share a fun colorwork knitting book and show you what's inside. And it has some really cute patterns in here, and then some other patterns that I've been collecting. So Christmas gifts that you can still start on and get finished before the holidays if you've already got the supplies in your house. So I'm really, really happy with my stocking. I was able to execute on my goal of knitting the foot of the stocking with a bigger needle than that was called for in the pattern. So the pattern wanted me to use a 2mm needle, and I just wasn't up to knitting fingering weight yarn on a 2mm needle, which would be US 0. So I just stuck with my 2.5mm needle and kept decreasing along the gusset area, and I just doubled the number of decreases, and that was able to get me to the right number of stitches so that the foot wouldn't be too big with the bigger needles, and it looks great to me. And so now I'm just on the decrease section here, and I'm going to switch shortly to the white yarn to the very tip of the toe. So that's how my stocking is going, and this yarn is holding up really great. I haven't done the test soak to see if the green or the red bleeds into the white, but when I do that, I'll definitely post a final video with what the stocking looks like. So it's just been a little hectic here lately. I think people are just getting settled into the new restrictions, and we've been just trying to do everything we can to be quiet and to keep things peaceful and calm, and also trying to spend a little bit of every day trying to do things that are really festive. And one thing that I was hoping to get to by now, which I haven't, is some projects in here, and it's super cute. This is called The Big Book of Christmas Knits, over 70 Scandinavian holiday patterns. And the more I spend time with this book, the more I feel really happy that I have it in my house. It's just the photography and the graphic design was so well done, and it just makes me feel really happy looking at the pages. It brings a lot of something festive into your home. And I would just show you some of the projects while trying to cover up the colorwork patterns here. So I know Arnie and Carlos are doing an Advent ball series, and this is another Advent ball series, but instead of balls, they're actually gift bags. And so there's all kinds of cute little designs in there, everything from birds to mice and little elves and the Silver Rose. And so it is super cute. So they have a drawstring topper there, and I suppose you could use them later on for putting into the tree, or the person getting the gift bag will probably really appreciate being able to keep that the gift and the little ball with the drawstring topper for using for their tree. So there's 3 Christmas stockings in this book, and this is the cutest one. I like this one. They're pretty small, but the neat thing about this book is that they give you the chart, a blank chart, so you can put whatever design you want to in it. So you can literally start off designing your own stocking by using the pattern here and the empty colorwork chart, and I thought that was really a nice feature of this book. If you haven't knit a stocking before and you want to try making a smaller one, this is a really good one. And these little birds here show up in a lot of the projects in this book. So I love gingerbread, and they made a little tea cozy with a gingerbread house, and I was thinking it would be, well, they're calling it a pot holder, but in the shape of a gingerbread. I thought that was absolutely adorable, and I would love to make that one day. I always get so inspired at Christmas to make things, but then I never start early enough to make them. This is a pattern for some tiny little mittens, and I know there's a bunch of patterns out there floating around out there to make these, but this is another one, and the neat thing about this is that it is all in one book. Plus, you get a pattern for these tiny stockings. And these stockings are striped, but they have a bunch of stockings in here with different colorwork motifs. And there's an alphabet page in here so that you can put your initials on these. And you could use these as bookmarks or as a little topper to your presents, and or cover a whole tree. And I was planning on making a bunch of these this year, and I didn't get to it, but I really want to do that one year. It's kind of been on my wish list for many years. There's a cute little sweater and matching hat for children in here that is absolutely adorable. And I like the little opening for the neck, because when you're trying to dress children, you want to have, you know, something that's not going to bother them taking it on and off. And I love the way they designed that. And just absolutely adorable. So here are the little birds that show up again for an adult pair of mittens. And let's see, here's a child's hat with the same birds, and love that photo. And here's some more grown-up things. These are little elves and hearts on a pair of mittens, and then those hearts show up as a theme over several projects here in these socks. And I will just tell you really quickly, these patterns, which are typical in Scandinavia, are developed for one size, and it's really up to you to figure out what yarn and needle, what needle size and what weight of yarn you're going to need to get the pattern to fit your feet, and do all that kind of calculation stuff on your own. I'm not a fan of the hearts, but I totally get it. I think Arnie and Carlos said in Denmark, the heart is a really big motif at Christmas over there, and I like the way that it looks like there's an interlocking pattern here with the trees, and I could see myself doing this in some neutral colors. Here's a pair of simple ribbing socks. And what else? I just tried to pick out the ones that were that really stood out in my mind is the projects that seemed really fun. Here's some fun mittens, and I've made some fingerless mittens with this kind of lice pattern before, and they're really super fun, especially when you're just learning how to do color work. And it's a lot easier to do more complicated designs around the wrists. And then when you get into the thumb area, it's a lot easier. If these would be your first mittens, this looks like a good one to get started on. And then here's a matching hat, and they do have on the pattern here some decreases on the crown, but it doesn't look like the decreases were worked out as well as they might have been for a beanie, so I think this was intended as a slouchy fit here. So maybe if you knit this with the hat with yarn with a little more drape, it would kind of slouch better. So then there's some other patterns in here for babies, some women's slippers. My mom made a bunch of slippers for her and us kids, and this is like absolute ancient history, but these are very, very basic, and this is something I would see in America a lot with hand-knitted slippers, as opposed to the Scandinavian ones that come to a point with all the colorwork. So if you have a bunch of leftover alpaca yarn and you want to knit something for a gift for someone's stocking, this looks really super sweet with the little pom-poms there. I like those. So, and here's another pair of slippers here. So they're calling them quick, and there's a little hat here in the back. So anyways, I don't have a lot to share this week. I feel really bad, but I know there's a lot of other videos out there that people are doing for Christmas, so hopefully if things start to get better next year, I'll be able to do more videos with more instruction. I just thought I would share a couple other projects that I've had tucked away from Ravelry that I thought were super sweet and fun for Christmas. This is Selbu Mini Vater by Jeannie Giberson, and this is a super sweet little baby mitten. And when I first, it's got 2 motifs on it, and when I first downloaded it, I absolutely could not understand how to do these mittens, and I kind of gave up. But once I worked through my first pair of mittens in the mitten book that I mentioned in a previous video, I understood how to do the mitten. And then now that when I look back at this pattern, it seems super obvious to me now. But I think Jeannie taught a course on this, and so maybe she wanted you to take her class, and then this pattern would be a part of that class. And so I think the pattern assumes you know a lot of stuff, so that stuff is not in the pattern. So it may seem a little confusing if you've never worked through a mitten before. So this seems like a really fun, for me in any ways, I like the idea of knitting these up. They look like they're about the size of a baby's hand, and you can see different people who have made these on Ravelry. And once you've knit these up, then you could probably easily figure out how to put your own motifs in here, and then you could do a whole Advent series for yourself and just kind of run with this one. And that reminds me of one more pattern, which is this one here, and it's called the Mitten Advent Calendar, and it's free. It's by Kathy Lewinsky, and this is based on the same idea of creating Advent countdown calendar of mittens, and the numbers 1 through 24 actually go on the mittens, and the recipe for each mitten is the same, but the colorwork pattern that goes inside each one is different. And you can see a lot of photos of how people have done this on Ravelry. And the one thing that has kind of prevented me from getting started on this is that each mitten starts with a Latvian braid, and I don't know how to do that yet. But the sock book that I mentioned in my previous video has a whole tutorial on that. So I'm really excited to know that I have a Latvian braid tutorial in the house. And I'm absolutely committed to doing this mitten series. So because this is free, I'm sure I won't get in trouble for sharing this. This is what the pattern looks like. So the mittens are bigger than the ones that Jeannie has, quite a bit bigger, so a lot more time consuming, but they're going to be more visible. And how I've seen people use this pattern is it looks more like it would be big enough to make as like a banner around your house or along your stairwell or wherever you wanted to create sort of a garland. These mittens were big enough to do something like that. So sorry for that noise. So yeah, we still got some random people making activity outside when technically nobody's allowed to gather for any purpose whatsoever right now. But there's a lot of exceptions to that rule where I live. So anyways, I better stop for now because we're starting to get more noise out there. I hope everybody is getting ready for Christmas, and if you have any questions on anything I've mentioned in my video, I'd be more than happy to answer them in the reply section to the video. So thank you so much, you guys. I hope everybody's enjoying their weekend today.